Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're looking at something that's going to stick with you. It's one of those stories that gets under your skin and makes you think twice about checking the closet at night.
Ooh, okay, I'm intrigued already.
Right, so we've got this first-person account. It reads like a diary entry almost. A very, very disturbing diary entry.
Gotcha. So like we're getting this firsthand experience of whatever's happening.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so effective. You're right there with the narrator every step of the way, feeling the fear, the confusion, the growing sense of dread. And it all starts with a pretty simple premise. The narrator finds something in their closet.
Okay, classic horror movie setup.
Right. But the way it's described, it's not just some shadowy figure or a spooky noise.
Yeah.
It's something tangible, something warm and rubbery, giving way under their touch. Like,
I can practically feel that.
and then there's the smell,
Yes.
salt and decay. Like something that should be dead but isn't. I mean,
Yeah.
how would you react to that?
I think I'd probably be running for the hills, honestly. Most people would, right? But our narrator tries to rationalize it. Like maybe it's a prank or a hallucination, some kind of trick of the light.
It's that classic denial stage, right?
Eh,
Our brain's trying to protect us from the really disturbing stuff. But here's the thing. It doesn't start there. It actually escalates pretty quickly. And it's not just what the narrator finds, but the pattern that starts to emerge.
a pattern. Okay, you've got my attention now.
So one of these, let's call them husks, is missing some fingers.
Yeah.
Pretty creepy on its own.
Hmm.
But then the narrator starts to experience numbness in their own fingers, this tingling sensation, like something's off.
Oh, wow. So it's like this mirroring effect almost. The line between the narrator and these husks is starting to blur.
Exactly. And the author does this so well, planting these little seeds of unease. You start questioning what's real and what's not. And it really plays on that fear of losing control over your own body.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Something as basic as your hand feeling right,
Right.
suddenly that becomes terrifying when you're not sure what's happening to you.
And it's not just the physical stuff either.
Right.
The narrator is constantly on edge, this feeling of being watched, like something is lurking just out of sight. It's that primal fear of the unknown, cranked up to 11.
It's like they're being hunted, but they don't know by what or even where to look.
Exactly.
Mm.
And this is where the story really dives into body horror, because it's not just about what you see. It's about how it feels, the itching, the pressure under the skin.
Oh, yeah, I get that. It's like tapping into our deepest fears about our bodies betraying us, becoming something we don't recognize.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, I'm thinking, burn the creepy thing, get rid of it. And that's exactly what the narrator tries to do.
Does it work?
Well, that's the thing. Fire doesn't work. In fact, it backfires in this really gruesome way.
Yeah.
It causes the narrator intense pain, and this awful stench fills the air.
Great. So whatever these husks are made of, it's not something that burns easily, which makes you wonder what could be so resistant to fire.
Right. And it's this failure that's so crucial because it forces a shift in perspective.
Mm.
The narrator can't just get rid of the problem anymore. And then comes the truly horrifying moment. The narrator discovers a seam on their own skin.
Oh no, a way to turn the tables.
Right. It's like, oh, this isn't some external threat. The problem is me. But what does that even mean? Is this some kind of disease, a parasite, something supernatural? The story keeps you guessing, and the tension just keeps ratcheting up.
And I bet that's where we'll pick up in part 2.
Right. You got it. We've only just scratched the surface of this deep dive.
I can't wait to see where this goes.
Trust me, you won't want to miss it.
Welcome back. You know, we left off with our narrator in a pretty intense situation last time.
Yeah. To say the least, they just peeled back their own skin, like literally peeled it back.
Okay, so now the big question.
Hmm?
What's underneath?
Well, let's just say it's not pretty, but it's definitely not human anymore. It's this bizarre mix of the organic and the inorganic, like something out of a nightmare.
You're going to have to be more specific. I'm dying to know.
Okay, so imagine this obsidian black skin, pulsating lights just beneath the surface, and these glowing eyes, like something out of an alien movie.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is definitely not what I was expecting. So it's like a complete transformation then.
Totally.
Yeah.
But here's the really creepy part. The narrator isn't repulsed by it. They actually describe it with this sense of awe, like they're fascinated by this new form.
That's interesting. You know, it's not just the monster itself that's disturbing. It's the acceptance of it. Like maybe this is who the narrator was always meant to be.
Right. And that's what makes this story so unsettling. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about identity. Like what happens when we shed not just our physical selves, but also our sense of self, the roles we play in society.
It's like those classic monster stories, right? Werewolves, vampires, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
That too.
But there's a twist.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Usually the transformation is seen as a curse, something to be feared and overcome, but here it's presented as a kind of liberation, even if it comes at a terrible cost.
Exactly, and that cost is something the story doesn't shy away from. The self-harm, the isolation, the increasingly erratic behavior, it all points to a very real psychological struggle. Like, the narrator is sacrificing their humanity, their connection to the world as they knew it, in order to embrace this new form.
Trading one prison for another almost, free from societal expectations, but now trapped in this monstrous body, this alien existence. It's a bleak outlook, to be sure. But there's this sense of power in their final actions. They don't just stumble out into the night. They walk with purpose, embracing this new form and whatever it might bring.
And that final image, the smile sharper, wider than ever before, it sends chills down my spine. It suggests that something darker, more predatory has taken hold.
It does make you wonder, what will the narrator do now? What does this transformation mean for the world around them? I mean, I'm starting to look at my own skin differently. Like, what if there's something lurking beneath the surface?
Maybe that's the point of it all. To make us question those boundaries between ourselves and the other. To remind us that we all have hidden depths, both beautiful and monstrous.
I don't know about you, but I'm still kind of reeling from that last part. I mean, the way the narrator just accepts this monstrous transformation. It's pretty unsettling, right?
It is. It really makes you think about the nature of identity and how much of it is tied to our physical form. Like, what happens when that form changes so drastically? Does our sense of self go with it?
Right. And it's not just about physical changes. It's about the psychological transformation, too.
Yeah.
The way the narrator's behavior becomes more erratic, their thoughts more fragmented. It's like they're losing themselves in more ways than one.
Yeah. And the story doesn't shy away from the disturbing aspects of that. The self-harm, the isolation, the increasing detachment from reality, it all points to a pretty profound psychological break. But it also raises these questions about what's considered normal and who gets to define that.
Okay, so let's talk about that ending for a second, because it's pretty ambiguous, right? The narrator walks out into the night, embracing this new form, but we don't know what they're going to do next. What does this transformation mean for the world around them?
I think that's the brilliance of it. The story doesn't give us any easy answers. It leaves us with this unsettling image of transformation, of something beautiful and monstrous being born, and it forces us to confront our own fears and prejudices about what it means to be human.
So instead of answers, we're left with questions. Big ones.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be human? Where do we draw the line between ourselves and the other? And what happens when those lines start to blur?
Right. And maybe there are no easy answers. Maybe those lines are always shifting. Maybe we're all capable of transformation, both beautiful and terrifying.
I don't know if I'm totally comfortable with that idea, but I think you're right. It's a thought that stays with you long after you finish the story. It makes you look at the world and yourself in a new light.
And isn't that the mark of truly great storytelling? It doesn't just entertain us. It challenges us, makes us think about the world and our place in it in new and sometimes uncomfortable ways.
Well, I know I'll be thinking about this deep dive for a while and maybe checking my closet a little more carefully from now on, just in case.
Good idea. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows, or closer to home beneath your own skin.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive into the strange and unsettling. Until next time, sleep tight. And don't forget to check your closets.